Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome back to the Onyx Tavern Vlog series on ToQger. Today we will be covering Station 10, Tokatti Dies at Sunset. Two things I want to mention before we start. First of all, I have been pronouncing his name wrong this entire time. It's Tokatti. I will do a better job of pronouncing that from this point forward. And this is a classic example of an episode or title that does not deliver on what it promises from its name. Not that I want Tokatti to die, but I'm just pointing that out. Pretty standard fare for this episode. It's a character piece for Tokatti. The A story primarily deals with him and a young boy. And the thing about this boy is he no longer has an imagination. He's at the right age to have an imagination, but he has lost his imagination, and Tokatti has to help him regain that imagination. And happening at the same time, the Type Shadow, which is the new monster, is wreaking havoc and has put something of a curse on Tokatti, in which he will die at sunset. So let's go ahead and talk about the two plots. The A plot is, again, rather standard fare. They find a youth, they teach him a lesson, lead by example, which is exactly what Sentai and Power Rangers by extension should be doing, leading by example. The particular line that is repeated is, imagination is not a prayer. Now, when I first watched this, and I've actually had to watch it 2 or 3 times, or at least in this particular segment, to really understand what they're trying to say. My initial thought was, they're talking about how imagination is stronger, it's more reliable than a prayer, to which I thought it was basically saying that praying doesn't help anything. And I don't know if it was supposed to be like a stab at religious doctrine, and since I'm not an expert in any religion, I don't even know what it was trying to go ahead and accomplish, and I go, that really can't be what they're trying to go ahead and say. I don't necessarily think it's a stab at religion. But again, after watching it a couple of times, what I understand now is that you have to act on things. So the whole thing about the boy is that he was playing a baseball game, he had confidence in himself, he struck out, he loses confidence, he loses his imagination. What he learns from Tokatti is that you can't just pray for things to get better, you just can't imagine things to get better. You have to become an active participant in that. So in order for him to become better at baseball, not only does he have to pray and use his imagination, he has to act on whatever it is he's doing. Praying is not enough. You have to be proactive in your successes. And that is actually a much better message. But it took me a couple of times to really kind of understand that. Because, they keep talking about prayer in the episode, and it was just a little, not so much jarring, it was a little difficult to kind of understand where they were going with it. But upon multiple viewings, I do think it became clearer to go ahead and understand. So as far as messages go, I think that's a pretty decent message to be conveying, that you have to be proactive in things that you do. And of course, what we see Tokatti do throughout the episode is he's exercising, getting better, and then by the end we see the boy, he is exercising and practicing baseball. So it's not so much a pat ending that he immediately becomes better, but we see that he is at least trying to become better. And of course, he's able to go ahead and see the rainbow line, which means he has his imagination back. Which overall makes him a better person, I believe, is what the episode's trying to say. Because I know the whole thing about children having the imagination is the crux of it, but I think it's restoring the imagination people who need it is also an important element of this series. So, again, not too bad. the problem is that the Rangers are affecting everybody else, but by extension, we're not learning too much more about them. Yes, we understand what Tokatti's sense is in being proactive, and that's been consistent with his character up to this point, but I think we've kind of learned that all the characters are proactive in their own way. So I wish there was more we could actually learn about him. And something I've actually noticed, for the last couple episodes, we've really lost the flashbacks, or at least flashbacks of some significance. He didn't have any type of, Tokatti didn't have any type of flashback that informed us why he has this worldview, why he is teaching this to this child. Where did he learn it? So that's a little bit odd. In the last flashback we actually had, what was Hikari, the Green Ranger, getting his toy for the first time, which that really doesn't, again, if we're following the premise that they were children to begin with, we would assume that's where he got it. So, yeah, we didn't really learn anything. We haven't been learning anything through flashbacks. I don't think we learned anything about Tokatti in this episode, other than he can be quite innovative, because, again, it's believed at the beginning that he was the smart one, whereas the Green Ranger is the smart one, but he's kind of the clever one. Let me go ahead and put it that way. So, yeah, Blue Ranger is the clever one in the series. Let's talk about the actual action plot and the Type Shadow. Now, the Type Shadow is that classic monster. He has free reign to basically do anything that he wants, but squanders his abilities. And here's what I'm saying. So the Type Shadow's gimmick is that he can type out a phrase, and that phrase will become true. So the title, Tokatti Dies at Sunset, is that he typed it into the air, it affected Tokatti, and it was going to go ahead and happen. And this was already proven when he had the rainbow line, made the rainbow line disappear and actually go into space. The problem I have with this is that this monster has, as far as we can tell, the ability to do almost anything. He can send the rainbow line to space, he can kill somebody, and he can resurrect people. Because what Tokatti finds out is that, so the monster's covered with key pieces, he's able to punch the monster and punch the keys to create a new sentence. So the original sentence, Tokatti dies at sunset, pardon me, and then Tokatti puts in the new line, it says, and he revives. So essentially, what this monster has is the power of life and death at his disposal, and the power of creation in some way. I mean, I would describe him in sense of the Q, that with his power, he has the ability of unlimited control of space, matter, and time. But he doesn't use it. So, I guess maybe the thing is that the Type Shadow has a limited imagination. Because, okay, if I was in his place and I wanted to destroy the ToQger, I would type to the rainbow line is destroyed, or rainbow line ceased to exist, or rainbow line never existed. So instead of sending the trains far away to where they could eventually come back, I would destroy them right there. And then he has the ability to affect the Rangers, but he only affected Tokatti. He didn't affect anybody else. And it wasn't like the Morphorns were protecting him, because we learn later that when Tokatti revives himself, he's morphed at the time. So why did he make the attempt to affect only one Ranger when he could have affected all Rangers, or, for that matter, affected any of them? Now, he does have to retreat from battle because he is damaged, but once he's revived, he doesn't use his typing ability to do anything else. He can literally do anything with this power, but he does nothing. All he does is make the trains disappear and tries to kill Tokatti. That's it. Beyond that, he doesn't do anything else. And he actually stands around for the longest time doing nothing and just talking. So, I want to say that the monster is dumb, but again, maybe it ties in with lack of imagination, because somebody with a greater imagination would actually find useful ways of using this power. Because he probably could have done anything. He could have, you know, conquered the Earth, raised an army on his own, raised the dead. I mean, literally, that is what he did. He killed Tokatti and then brought him back to life. I mean, it wasn't, he just passed out and came back. No. From the way I understand it, Tokatti died. D-E-A, dead, okay? and then he revived. He resurrected on the 4th day, or wherever it is. That's basically what happened. So, again, why isn't he using his power to greater effect? And further, why didn't the Shadow Line actually use him for something more significant? Frankly, this is their most powerful monster to date, and they didn't utilize him. It's just kind of infuriating that it's not so much that I want the villains to win, but in order for our heroes to win, they have to be clever and outsmart their adversary. But if their adversary is dumb already, it's not much of an accomplishment to those heroes. And yes, Tokatti was able to figure out how to manipulate him to do what he wants, but I don't know. It just seems to me like this is a very powerful monster. This would be like a final boss in a series, and yet what he did was extremely limited. And that's the biggest kind of issue that I have. I will also point out that his keys are supposed to be that of a typewriter. First of all, I didn't see 26 letters there on his body, so he has less than 26 letters. Not to mention, it's the English alphabet that's on it. Now, I've been told that both Japanese and Korean computers and typewriters will have both English and Japanese or Korean letters on them, but both, not just one or the other. So why is his keys all in English? And does that mean that Tokatti knows English? Because if he does, maybe that's informing of his backstory. Maybe he actually knows something more. Maybe he's been to America, something that will inform us to him. Because, not everybody in Japan knows English and vice versa, okay? So, well, or at least I'll find that out here soon. But my point is, we learn another new thing about Tokatti, but it's not really expanded upon that he knows English. And again, why is the Shadow Line using an English typewriter, basically? So that's kind of one of the little technical things. And along with that, another technical thing, when he sends the Rainbow Line into space of all places, both the conductor and wagon, and by extension ticket, they don't float off when they're up in space. So apparently the Rainbow Line has an anti-grav generator. Go figure. I can't figure that one out. And at the end, I do think it's kind of interesting because, again, the monster's using English letters to type to defeat the Rangers. But when they do the cannon at the end, Tokatti uses his imagination. He uses Japanese calligraphy to stop him. So I do think this is probably another commentary on Japanese culture as opposed to Western culture, because it does take a Japanese style of writing, an artistic style of writing, over a cold, mechanical Western style, because again, the villain has English letter keys. So take it for what it's worth, but that's the conclusion I drew in there. And of course, it was nice to see both mechas fighting alongside each other. I'm hoping next couple of episodes we'll get the combination to that. If not, I'm sure we'll get more Resha along the way. So, yeah, that's about all I got for this episode. Decent episode. Not too much happens. We don't learn a lot in it, but it was okay. I mean, I liked it. So, if you guys know what you think of the episode, leave your comments below, and maybe you can, answer a couple of things that I have questions to. I'm always interested in hearing what you all have to say on my evaluation of these episodes. But anyway, thank you for joining me. Have a good evening, and Tavern is closed.